Greetings, Taku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm back. I'm finally back, and I'm here to bring you all the debut of my new video segment entitled Top 5 right here on Otaku Assemble Weekly. And finally, I'm back to bring you all the latest in this week's videos. Now, first and foremost, I want to go ahead and apologize for my absence this past month on YouTube. Some of you all have been informed about what's been going on because I do update, or at least I try to update the OAW Facebook page every now and then. And pretty much what's all been happening is that I just started a new job at the end of June. And so I've been working that. I'm working full-time now. And also I just finished the script for the first issue of my new comic book miniseries. And I'm currently working on the script for the second issue. So I've been doing that during my free time also. So pretty much within the last month or so, when I'm working, and then when I'm not working, I'm writing. So yeah, there wasn't really much time to get some YouTube videos done. But I do want to thank those of you all who have been, checking up on me. I want to thank those of you all who have been, keeping up tabs and whatnot. And I appreciate you all for hanging around during that hiatus. And for those of you all who have been left out of the loop, be sure to like the OAW Facebook page. That's facebook.com/otakuassemble. I update that page more often than YouTube. So in the event of future hiatuses, make sure that you're not left out of the loop, that you're kept informed. Now, let's talk about the new video segment entitled Top 5. What is Top 5 and where did this come from? Pretty much, I got this idea from watching a couple of recent videos from fellow YouTuber Melina Pendulum. Shout out to her. For those of you all who haven't checked out her channel, she's awesome. And so, a couple of her videos were these little mini countdowns. Now, here's the thing. In the past, I've kind of been against doing countdown videos, mainly because at the time, a lot of my friends and associates on YouTube, a couple of people in the anime community, and there's a bunch more that I heard of, who made it a habit of doing countdown videos. The problem with countdown videos, though, is that they would always do this, best or greatest. And see, the funny thing is, when you're doing a list, and you're trying to figure out the best or the greatest, a lot of times people have a very hard time distinguishing quality from personal preference. Objectivity from subjectivity. So, when there'll be, the best, the top 5 best anime series, or the top 5 greatest anime series, or the top 5 best characters, a lot of times it's more of their preference than actual objectivity coming into play. And so that's why I tried to avoid that type of thing. However, this time around, thinking about the countdown in a different light, this is pretty much my response to the favorite hero, favorite villain segment, because those videos were all about my preference. They were all about characters that I liked, that were my favorite of certain series and why I liked them so much. So I thought, what if I just took that and put it to a countdown? So, but I'm not just limiting it to characters. It's not just going to be characters. It's going to be anything. And the coolest part about this segment is that in the vein of favorite hero, favorite villain, you all, the audience, the viewers, will get to nominate and thumb up suggestions for the next video. And it can be open to anything. Favorites, least favorites, things of that nature. So I thought to kick off the new segment, I thought a pretty cool topic would be to give you all my top 5 favorite Justice League episodes. Now, this came about because this past month, I hate to admit it, but I had my cable cut off due to financial hardship. And in that time, I went back and I rewatched all 5 seasons of Justice League. And just a brief comment about that series. That series is a lot better than I thought it was. Going back, looking at it, you know, with fresh eyes, haven't watched it in a while, so going back, looking at it as an adult with a critical eye, that show is a lot better than I thought it was. I did not remember it being as good. It's really good. Damn near every episode is pitch perfect. And so, having rewatched, you know, the entire series, I thought to kick off the new top 5 video segment, let's discuss my favorite Justice League episodes. My top 5 favorite. Now, this was a pretty hard list to compose, and there were a lot of episodes on an honorable mentions list. My honorable mentions list was about just as long. But I'm going to save that for another video, because maybe somewhere along the line I'll do, you know, like honorable mentions, stuff like that. So anyway, so let's get into this list. Now, for the sake of structure, I've decided to label the episodes based off of their number within the season, not within the overall episode list. So for you guys who want to look these episodes up, keep that in mind. I'm basing it based off of season number and then the number of the episode as it pertains to that specific season. So keep that in mind. And so, starting off the list at number 5 is season 1, episodes 24 through 26, The Savage Time. Now, this is the season 1 finale. It's a 3-part episode, and this episode pretty much tells the story of the Justice League fighting alongside the Allied forces during World War II. The gist of the episode is that the Justice League find a time machine and they get sent back in time. First they get sent into the future, and they find out that the future is vastly different from the one they know of. They find out that there is a new dictator in power, that he's pretty much taken control over the entire world, and the future Batman is the one leading the resistance against the tyrannical ruler. So they narrow down what point in time that this tyrannical ruler rose to power, and that's during World War II. So then they head back to World War II to try and confront him. They find out that the ruler in question is in fact Vandal Savage, who is he is a powerful DC villain, but up until this point in television and in film and stuff, Vandal Savage was still fairly unknown. He was still new to the public eye, despite the fact that he had been in comic books for years. And so Vandal Savage, pretty much his one main ability is immortality, and he uses his immortality and also his heightened intelligence to gain wealth, political power, so on and so forth throughout periods of time. What happens is Vandal Savage contacts his past self, and he gives his past self knowledge of history and also technological advances to give him a heads up in World War II to where he could take over. So of course the Justice League goes back in time. They fight alongside familiar characters in that period in DC Comics, such as the Blackhawks, Steve Trevor. This is where we get the introduction of Steve Trevor. And so yeah, all in all, it's a really cool episode. Now the reason why it's one of my favorites is because of just some of the things that happens with the characters. So of course I mentioned Steve Trevor earlier. This is where we get Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, you know, their meeting. The development of their relationship is in these episodes. John Stewart, who has the breakout performance for me in this story, because John, his ring goes out in the first episode, or no, rather the beginning of the second episode, I believe. And so what happens is he has to resort to going back to being a soldier like he was when he was in the Marines. And so I don't know, it's kind of cool how like John, you know, he's the Green Lantern, he's this superhero, and yet in this great time he has to go back down to bone basics, and he gets to fight alongside some of the same men that he looked up to as a young man when he enlisted in the Marines. So that dynamic was really well done, and I love it. I love it in the episode. So That's number 5. Number 4 on my list is from season 2. It's season 2, episodes 19 and 20, entitled Hereafter. Now, this story, it's kind of a loose adaptation of the death of Superman. What happens is that a group of Superman's villains join forces. They have this huge battle in Metropolis, and Superman, in an attempt to save Wonder Woman and Batman, he gets hit with this death ray, if you will, and then he just vanishes. And so everyone assumes that he's dead. There's a funeral, a memorial, all the jazz, pretty much everything in the death of Superman story, where we get the funeral and things of that nature. Then what happens is the Justice League is trying to find a replacement for him. Of course, the first thing they do is they go to Batman, because Batman is still a part-timer, wanting him to be a full-time, and of course he turns them down. And Lobo, of all the characters in the DCU, Lobo shows up and wants to take Superman's place. Now, look, first and foremost, I'm not a huge fan of Lobo. To me, Lobo is only good for comedic relief. But he does it well in this episode. He does fit that role of comedic relief. Because most of the hilarious lines in the episode are his lines. But anywho, but the reason why this little story is my favorite is the second episode, where we find out what actually happens to Superman. Superman, some way, somehow, the ray that Superman got hit with sent him into the future. And Superman finds this, dystopian world. And when he finally tracks onto a signal, the beacon that he believes to be the watchtower, which it is, but it's a dilapidated watchtower, of all the people Superman finds in the future, who comes to his aid? Vandal Savage, the villain from the Savage Time. And Vandal Savage pretty much tells Superman that after his death, he came up with this plan to take over the world, and unintentionally he ended up destroying it. And so Vandal Savage, in an attempt to make up for that, he supplies Superman with the way to get back to the past, to prevent him from ever doing the plan that caused the end of the world to begin with. So I thought that was really, really well written. It's actually the last time we see Vandal Savage in the series. And the reason why this episode is above the Savage Time is because without the Savage Time in season 1, and without Maid of Honor, which occurs earlier in season 2, both episodes featuring Vandal Savage as the villain. Without those 2 episodes, you don't appreciate Vandal Savage the way you do when you get to this episode, and it makes his act of redemption all the more satisfying, because you saw him as the villain before in those other 2 episodes, and now this is his chance to make amends. So that's why I thought Hereafter, always round, great episode. Number 3 on the list comes from season 4. We're jumping ahead now. Season 4, episode 7, entitled Clash. This is the episode where we get the introduction of Captain Marvel. And in this episode, Captain Marvel gets pitted against Superman, but it's not intentional. What happens is, in season 4, Lex Luthor is running for president, and of course Superman is off the gate skeptical of this. He believes that there's ulterior motives. He doesn't think that Lex is legit. He doesn't think that Lex has gone the straight and narrow. However, Captain Marvel, the new addition to the JLU, is very much early day Superman. He's very idealistic. He believes in giving everyone a fair shake until they give you a reason not to. And what happens is this pits Captain Marvel and Superman against each other, because Captain Marvel's trying to give Lex the benefit of the doubt. Superman doesn't want to fall for it, and it ends up resulting in this big battle between Captain Marvel and Superman in what is it called? Luthor Park, I believe is the name of it. It's pretty much this new community development project that Lexor City, that's the name of it, Lexor City. It's this new development project that Lex is trying to get underway, good PR and, all that type of jazz. At the end of the episode, we found out it was a big ruse. We found out that Superman was actually set up. by Lex Luthor and Amanda Waller, who were in cahoots with each other, and this is all part of the big scheme. This is all part of the big plan, Cadmus's big plan and Luthor's big plan to discredit the Justice League and to pretty much pit the U.S. and the world, for that matter, against the Justice League. It's all part of the overarching plot of season 4. Now, why is it one of my favorite episodes? Because, well, first off, this is one of the episodes where we really get to see Superman go mano a mano with someone who actually is his equal. And some people will argue, anyone who knows about Captain Marvel in the comics, some people would argue Captain Marvel is actually Superman's superior from a ability standpoint. But this was one of the episodes where you get to see that happening. But also, my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes in the entire series, is at the end of the episode, the meeting with Captain Marvel and the founding members of the JLU. And Captain Marvel, before they even decide what they want to do with Captain Marvel, he tells them that he's quitting, but he tells them why. And he tells them that, you know, he always looked up to Superman. He always admired Superman. And he always tried to solve his problems based off of what would Superman do, which is meant a lot to me, because that's a question I ask myself all the time in my personal life when I'm faced with a difficult issue. Yeah, I know I'm a geek. Fuck it. I don't care. Anyway, but Captain Marvel has one of my favorite lines where he says, you know, I always wanted to be the hero. You guys don't act like heroes anymore. And then he storms off. And that just cements a criticism I've had about comics, definitely at the time this episode premiered, but later on, and even today, how, you know, especially in regards to Superman, how a lot of people, you know, they criticize Superman for being, you know, the big blue Boy Scout, for being Mr. Perfect, you know, Mr. Idealist, Mr. Naivety. And here it is, Captain Marvel is the embodiment of that. Captain Marvel, like I said earlier, he is very much an early day Superman. One of the things I love most about Justice League, about the series, is that we get an older Superman, a Superman who's been doing this for a while. So he's very more no nonsense than he is in Superman the Animated Series, because Justice League is in continuity with Superman the Animated Series. It takes place afterwards. So Superman by Justice League is very no nonsense. And to have that dichotomy between these two ideals, and for Superman to see what he has become and how the job has changed him, to have that in that episode, man, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. So, number 2 on my list also comes from season 4. Season 4, episode 10, entitled Flashpoint. This episode follows season 4, episode 9, entitled Question Authority, where the Question, pretty much uncovering the grand scheme of Cadmus, breaks into Cadmus headquarters and actually gets abducted. And so Superman and Huntress break into Cadmus to pull him out. And Question Authority ends with them being confronted by Captain Atom, who, although he is a member of the Justice League, is actually working on behalf of the U.S. military. And so, of course, he's stopping them. Flashpoint starts off with the fight between Superman and Captain Atom. Once again, another episode where we really get to see Superman go toe-to-toe with someone who's his equal. But after that battle, Lex Luthor hijacks the space gun in the Watchtower, and he fires on Cadmus headquarters. And then, of course, the rest of the episode is about them trying to uncover what really happened. Everyone, you know, the U.S., they're like, oh, the Justice League fired on us. This is an act of war. This, that, and the other. So pretty much this is the episode where everything that season 4 has been building up to, it all comes to a head in this episode. And why I like it and why it's one of my favorites, of course, the Captain Atom Superman fight. Of course, all the political intrigue that happens with the White House, with Cadmus, with the JLU, with Lex Luthor, you know, Batman uncovering what's going on and things like that. But also one of my favorite scenes, once again, another one of my favorite scenes in the whole series, and one of my and of course, yeah, it's another Superman centric scene, but it's the scene after Superman has beaten Captain Atom. I mean, he's beat the shit out of him at this point, and this whole time they've been fighting. And you would think that they're enemies now, you know, right? Like Captain Atom chose the U.S. military over the Justice League, and no, even, you know, Superman understands that he had to fight him, but it was because he had no choice. And after that, he's still not going to condemn Captain Atom. What happens is Captain Atom, he's knocked out, and Cadmus personnel are going to go treat him, and Superman just tells him, it's like, don't touch him. He's Justice League. And then Superman picks Captain Atom up and he gets him the fuck up out of there. And that's one of my favorite scenes, because to me, that's my Superman. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not just gonna, it's not just, oh, you're my enemy because you're opposing me. Fuck you, I'm gonna smash you into the dirt and leave you. I'm done with you. It's like, no, he understands the situation. He sympathizes with Captain Atom, and he does the right thing at the end of the day. That's why I love that. Love that scene. And so that's going to bring us, and I know I'm running close to time, but that's going to bring us to my number one all-time favorite Justice League episode. And a lot of you all by now have probably figured out what it is. It is season 3, episode 2, for the man who has everything. It's the only adaptation, or at least to my knowledge, of the story by the same name, from Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, the creators of Watchmen. And for the man who has everything is a Superman story where Wonder Woman and Batman go and visit Superman in the Fortress of Solitude for his birthday, only to discover that he's been sedated by this alien plant. And you find out that Mongol, the villain of the War story, he's infiltrated the Fortress of Solitude to get revenge on Superman for what happened on War. And so Wonder Woman and Batman, well, Wonder Woman's fighting off Mongol while Batman's trying to snap him out. And the whole time Superman is experiencing this fantasy that the alien plant has created for him. Well, it's not a plant. It's a plant. It's a living thing anyway. But and so the whole story is, you know, Superman envisions what his life would be like on Krypton. You know, like in this alternate reality, Superman discovers that Krypton is still there. He goes back, gets married, has a wife, has a son. You know, his dad's still alive. All this type of jazz, and then he gets pulled out of it, realizes what happens, and then of course fights Mongol and saves the day. The reason why, I mean, this story to this day still gets me, and actually it's one of the earliest recollections I have of actually crying from a cartoon, because when I saw it, I remember seeing it the first time, the night it premiered, when it premiered on Toonami back in the summer of 2004, and like just seeing that scene when Superman is talking to his Kryptonian son, and he tells him that, you know, this is everything I always wanted, but I don't think you're real. And man, that scene, if that scene doesn't get to you right here, you don't have a soul, period. And then of course Superman's reaction when he snaps out and he's fighting Mongol, and he says, it's like, do you realize what you've done to me? Do you realize what I've lost? Bam, bam. It's like, man, whoo, such a great episode. Also, to note, the plant does end up attaching itself to Bruce, and we see what Bruce is, you know, like alternate reality would have been. And of course, it's his dad, instead of getting shot by what's your boy name, Joe Cool, instead of being shot by him, he actually ends up, you know, apprehending him and, you know, defending himself. So all in all, really great stuff. Really good episode. I highly recommend it for anybody, and if you can manage to get your hands on the actual comic, all the better, because I've only read that once. I've only read the actual comic book story once, and it was an online scanlation, and I don't even think that website's still around, because this was back in high school when I read it. It's really, really good. So anyway, so that's pretty much going to wrap up this week's top 5 video. Those are my top 5 favorite Justice League episodes. And guys, in the comments below, leave your thoughts on these episodes, on the series, but also for next week. Leave suggestions for the next top 5. And like I say, it can be anything. It can be, you know, top 5 favorite episodes from another series, top 5 favorite movies from a genre or movies in general, you know, top 5 least favorite, anything. Get creative, surprise me. Leave suggestions in the comments below and thumb up the one you want to see me do next week. Coming down the wire later this weekend, I got the discussion of the week being uploaded tomorrow, and the next advice corner being uploaded tomorrow. And with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, signing off, and until next time, peace.